We're talking predominantly, I guess, local government elections because they're just a few weeks away. And with that, local government and its various facets. And we've just been talking to our panelists who are here, Minister, Deputy Ministers, and also the Chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board. And they've shared their opening thoughts with us and some of the issues that are quite important at this time. So we're going to start unpacking that a little bit further now. And don't forget, at home at Morning Live SABC, that's our Twitter handle. And we've also got an audience here that are going to be posing questions to our panelists. And we'll be going there just now. But just before that, Minister, I guess, you know, when you switch on the TV, more and more what we're seeing now is, and we haven't seen this kind of agitation, anger, violence for some time. So and I'm just wondering, and some people are asking the question, are you confident that we're going to get free and fair local government elections? We've got a few weeks to go now, and if the current patterns are anything to go by, maybe we should be concerned about particularly the level of violence that might occur.
Thank you once more, Peter. Yes, you know, after the announcement of the elections results, but as well as the ruling of the Constitutional Court on the challenge that emanated as a result of the by-elections in Tlokwe. I think it's all systems go. We have established structures on the ground, but also nationally we have what we term interministerial committee that is chaired by myself. And in that interministerial committee, we also accommodate the security cluster, the state security, as well as SABS. Now, the reports that we received in our last engagement, and we continue to receive on a daily basis, indicates that everything is under control. I mean, our machinery, enforcement machinery is in place to handle the situation. And of course, we want to condemn with the stronger contempt that it deserves, the violence that is currently taking place, because we know for the fact that as a constitutional democracy, we have clear provisions allowing people to protest. But there's no way in which we can tolerate the rate at which, I mean, violence constitute, I mean, most of the protest, I mean, so far. And we want to call on our people to make sure that they continue to protest and exercise their democratic right responsibly without infringing on the other people's rights. And we think as the state machinery, we are ready to deliver free and fair elections come the 3rd of August.
All right, okay. Well, let's go to the floor and get a sense of how this room is feeling, and then we'll be looking at your questions via Twitter as well. And we'll start at table number 12, where we'll see Alfred Mtsi. Table number 12, Alfred Mtsi, if you could stand up, we'll get a microphone to you.
Thank you very much, Peter, and the honorable panelists. 15 years of democracy for local government has been characterized by a number of challenges and successes, from which we drew some lessons. The question that I have is, what plans are in place to take advantage of our success stories to ensure that we do things differently for the better going forward? That's first question number one. My second question is with reference to the metros. The metros are classified as pillars of economic growth. The question that I would like to know is whether is there any specific program or plans from COGTA to provide assistance with respect to capacity of the metros to in areas of investment attraction as well as revenue generation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to table number 3, where we'll find you're right like a doctor. Is it Nhlakanipo Nkontwana?
Thank you, Peter. Good morning to the panel. I'm just going to take a cue from the introduction made by the Deputy Minister Nel, because my question focuses on urbanization, but I'm going to put it differently now, given that he has explained exactly what the framework is all about. Yesterday, I think all of you are aware that we released the Quality of Life survey, and one of the issues that came out is the urbanization, and one of the fundamental findings probably come from the people of Gauteng is that we should consider introducing influx control. This is a matter that we must deal with. This is a matter that we must ponder as a province. I would like to get a view from the Deputy Minister. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And then in this round, let's go to table number 4, where we'll find Thomas Mkaza.
Thank you. Good morning, panelists and Peter. My question is a simple one. I come from a district municipality that is faced with serious problems with regards to funding. And the question is, will the minister be considering the funding model of districts, because the equitable share is continuously shrinking as compared to the costs that we are faced with? Thank you.
Okay, so if you could all kind of pick up what you need to pick up from those questions that have come through. Let's start with you, Minister.
Oh yeah, maybe let's start where we ended. Indeed, there is a continuous call for not necessarily a revival of the funding model of the district municipalities, but also the funding model of the sector comprehensively. And I know this debate has been, of course, ongoing, but as you know, just recently we revisited the equitable share formula as a critical aspect of the funding model. So definitely what I'm trying to say here is that it is an ongoing process. We will continue, to review this particular process. But quite interestingly, the debate that is also gaining momentum now is about the viability of the district themselves. Do we still need the district, or do we need to categorize district differently, depending on the composition of Category B municipalities in those districts, as Category C municipalities? Because in other districts, it's very important to know that there are Category B municipalities with far better competence than the district themselves. So there is that interesting debate around the funding model, but also the future of the district municipalities.
Okay.
Well, let me respond to Mayor Alfred Nzi of Buffalo City around the good successes. People tend to look at government as just a problem area, and yet there are so many good stories to tell, so many good successes that are taking place. When you go home, you switch on the lights do turn on. When you open the tap, water comes out. When you look on the street, indeed, rubbish is being collected twice a week or so. Yes, there are challenges here and there, which municipalities are really engaging on, and back to basic is really to then begin to ensure that indeed we maximize the service provision so that people live well in that municipality. But municipalities indeed are delivering services, and every day the normal life is taken care of. So let's really begin to work in the 15 years that we've come from, take lessons, and the challenges that we have experienced, we know them, take them as lessons, and as we advance to the fourth democratic system of local government after August 3rd, then we'll be able then to ensure that municipalities do then perform even maximally and better. Yes, challenges will always be there, movements of people, influx in the cities, and then bring in their own pressures and their own challenges that municipalities ought to, as Deputy Minister Nel spoke about the integrated urban development plan. What is it that we're going to do? How many people arrive in the city? Like the city of Johannesburg, Mayor Parkstow is here, is receiving 10,000 people per month of people that are influxing in the city. I'm not sure the overall percentage of Gauteng as to how many, but influx control, no, I don't think is the route to go. Urban development, yes. and the rapid urban development, but secondly, the comprehensive rural development. Because people move because they look for opportunities. If there are no work opportunities in the rural areas, there's no development that takes place in that rural area, people will migrate. And then they'll move to the cities, and then we're putting pressure on the cities. So I know how you feel in the pinch, because you are the recipient, the biggest recipients of people migrating to the city.
No, indeed. I think just in answer to Nhlakanipho's question about urbanization and influx control, definitely not. Influx control is something that belongs to our painful past. In fact, we're gearing up to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Women's March to the Union buildings against past laws. Past laws is something behind us. What we need, we recognize that our urban areas are gaining in population very, very fast. In fact, in the past 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, Gauteng, the population of Gauteng has grown by 1 million people. Now that is the same as taking the whole of the Northern Cape and moving it to Gauteng. That is the pace of urbanization, of growth in our urban areas. Our challenge is not to use old methods to keep people away from our cities. Our challenge as a nation is, how do we manage that urbanization so that we derive the maximum benefits for our people, and at the same time build that inextricable link between our rural areas and our urban areas? That is our challenge as a nation. How do we build cities that are livable, that are safe, that are resource efficient, in which we have a situation of social integration, economic inclusion, cities that are globally competitive, and very importantly, cities and towns in which our citizens are playing a leading and an active role in shaping the futures of their cities. That is what we're working towards.
So are we coping, though? Because this rate of migration, and this is a phenomena that we're seeing across the continent, and I think it was the chair of NEPAD who said we're seeing when we talk about urbanization, we're actually seeing the ruralification of our urban centers, so that they're becoming more and more rural-like as a result of the strain on the infrastructure, on the facilities. Are we coping?
Our challenge is to cope. We must cope. And in fact, a number of our cities and towns are actually doing very, very well. And I'm sure that Mayor Parks Tau, when he comes up to talk, will be talking about leading groundbreaking initiatives such as the Corridors of Freedom approach that is using integrated public transport systems to bring together parts of our cities that were previously separated by apartheid, to link those parts of our cities together, to promote densification, to promote more compact, coordinated and efficient cities where people live close to work, close to social services, close to economic opportunities, close to recreational activities, and in doing so give effect to this vision of safe, livable and resource-efficient cities and towns. I think very, very important is dealing with this painful legacy of apartheid spatial patterns. Apartheid planning that took South Africans, separated them on the basis of race, put black people and working class people on the peripheries of our towns and cities where they have to commute for long distances, spending a lot of time away from their families, having to spend big parts of their income on transport, and stressing to the maximum our infrastructure, having to build water, sanitation, electricity connections over large parts that are economically inefficient and environmentally unsustainable. And that is why the integrated urban development framework is trying to steer the shape of our cities into more compact and coordinated ones.
Okay. We'll chat a little bit more about that, because there are fears. People have got big properties, they've got certain values, and then some of this development is going to bring down the values of their properties. But we'll explore that. What I want to ask you, Mayor Jane, is your decisions can change people's fortunes. If you suddenly end up in a municipality that's doing well, that's getting better funding, that's getting more money, your life can improve. But if you get into the wrong municipality, or the boundary takes you into another one, your life can change the other way. Isn't this what's at the heart of some of the drama that we're facing?
Of course, it should be at the heart of the drama, but that goes to tell you that the function of the Municipal Demarcation Board is very much intertwined with the function of government in different spheres. All these areas need to be developed, so that when a boundary has to be drawn, people shouldn't be concerned that I don't want to be the other side of the boundary because there's less development. This is one country, and we ultimately aspire into a period where we're having development being equitable in all areas. But let me just latch on the question that the Minister spoke about, the question that emanated from a gentleman who asked about district municipalities, and the Minister then said, yes, well, another question is whether we even need them. And it is a matter of interest to the board, because often some people by default request or apply to have their municipalities categorized as metros. And this comes particularly because there is the only time you have a municipality that has got independent executive and legislative functions is when it's a metro. Other than that, if you need to have a local municipality, it can only exist if it is under a particular district municipality. Yet we do have other strong local municipalities, and perhaps it's time that we have a constitutional amendment that allows for another categorization where there could be local municipalities that can be independent from any other municipality. That is, locals that would have their own executive and legislative functions, so that we don't have applications that are coming to the board for people wanting to have some rural metros and some metropolitan that do not actually qualify as metropolitan municipalities.
So, Minister, it sounds like there are some municipalities that are failing. And if you are in a failing municipality, then you're going to meet with resistance. How do we make sure that all the municipalities do well?
As earlier indicated by Deputy Minister, we have a very, very a collaborative and inclusive program called Back to Basic. Inter alia, that program is meant to focus on those municipalities that are dysfunctional, but also those who are not necessarily dysfunctional, our champions. How do you use the experiences of the champions to empower those that are dysfunctional, or maybe those who are on the brink of being dysfunctional? So, I mean, we've got clear plan, a 10-point plan as to how we want to intervene in those municipalities. But what I must indicate, Peter, and that's something that has been very, very common through my stay in the sector, where people treat municipalities as if it's a situation of a one-size-fits-all. It's not true. I mean, the challenges facing municipalities varies from one municipality to the other. And that's why our back-to-basic response, it's so differentiated, but it's so specific. It goes to an extent of course, through our crack teams, to an extent of identifying the uniqueness of a problem per municipality. And of course, developing tailor-made solutions to some of these problems, unlike applying a one-size-fits-all approach. What works in Joburg might not work in Nelson Mandela. What works in Nelson Mandela might not work in Buffalo City. But the experiences of these municipalities, correctly so, must be shared.
So Change Soul tweets and says, Minister spoke of internet penetration, however, majority of rural people don't have the internet.
Let me years ago, we are on course to make sure that we outreach to our people. That's why I said, I'm very, very worried about the populist trend that has engulfed our political landscape. And as you know, it's not only here at home. It's a national phenomenon. We saw it in Greece, bubblegum politics, people promising people heaven and earth, and at the end of the day, it's not happening. Now it's happening now, where we didn't even expect it. I mean, the Brexit is one of the populist trends, in my take, is one of the populist political trends that are really worrying me. And of course, the emergence of the candidates of Donald Trump is also very interesting for me. So I'm just saying, let's not claim easy victories here. Yes. More especially in our situation as South Africans. We are from a very, very difficult past, and it's going to take us a lot of commitment and focus to get rid of some of these entrenched challenges.
You may have to receive him as head of state one day. This
and anything is in American politics, anything is possible. You know?
Okay, table number 9 will find Monk Langen. Table number 9.
Thank you very much, honorable guest there. I'm having a simple question.
If it's for someone specific, just mention their name so that they can listen to you more attentively.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Minister, as the Minister of Local Government, I just want to understand, after this democratic dispensation, we still have casualization in the form of EPWPs, which is contrary to the Freedom Charter that talks to there shall be work and security for all. Thank you.
What's an EPWP for those that don't know?
It's economic expanded economic propeller.
Okay. All right, so shall we deal?
Distorting our progress.
Shall we deal with that question? Minister,
want to deal with it.
Shall we deal? Who wants to do it? Okay.
Yeah, well, I know, but in terms of my delegation authorities, is Deputy Minister Nel. But what I must indicate that our commitment as a government of the day is to ensure that those who were deemed to be unemployable and left, to decay in their status. It's our commitment as a government to turn them into employable people. Now, our public employment programs, not what you are saying, I don't know what is it that you are saying. Our public employment programs, I must indicate, got a very clear intention at the center of their existence, which is to ensure that we give skills, the basic skills required, by our people, for them to be employable. We are from an unfortunate past. You know, I know we are victims, mainly South Africans, we are victims of amnesia. We forget very quick. Our people are not educated. Our people were not groomed to have skills. They were only groomed to be drawers of wood and water, you know. So you'll have to bear with us. This is just an intervention to make sure that those who don't have skills are accorded the basic skills so as they can be employable. We don't have any intention of keeping them long in those programs. They must exit those programs. But while our preliminary or our assessment has shown that we haven't reached that objective quite sufficiently, because our people are stuck in these programs. And you know, like it's human nature. When I say to you, I give you employment maybe for 2 years to give you skills so as you can move, and you don't move, and then you start being a veteran there, or an ordinary finisher in that particular program, what happens? You start having expectations, and then you start now trying to claim for your benefits, you know. So ideally, we are not with any share of intention aiming to undermine the objectives of the Freedom Charter. Here we are aiming to enhance and facilitate process where our people are able to realize that job and security provision as cited in our noble document, the Freedom Charter. So there's no intention, to turn those programs into permanent employment programs. It's just for employment, ensuring that our people are employable. But I think the Deputy Minister Nel, because he's our champion on public employment programs, can give some more information, but also give a free lecture on what are these programs, because I think the gentleman there is even getting it wrong, even how to explain what is EPWP, you know.
Okay. Deputy Minister?
No, thank you very, very much. Public employment programs, and there are many that have been launched by government. As COGTA, we are responsible for the community work program. The Department of Public Works is running the expanded Public Works program. Departments like Environmental Affairs have working against fire, working for water, and those interventions have provided millions of South Africans with an opportunity to work, to gain some income, to develop skills. And it's a very, very necessary intervention because given the world economic climate and the structural features of the South African economy, there are many people who are just not getting employment. Now, Community Works program is a very, very exciting program. It's a community-based program that gives participants the opportunity to work 2 days a week, 8 days a month, 100 days a year. That program, in the first 2 months of this financial year alone, has provided more than 202,000 South Africans with an opportunity to work. We're very happy to say 160,000 of those are women, 70,000 are young people, and about 2,600 are people with disabilities. Now, the community determines what form of useful work should be done by those participants, be it the painting of a school, the maintenance of a road, the laying out of community vegetable gardens, coaching school children in soccer, mentoring young children, setting up cultural activities. So there's a lot of very good work to do. From 2014 to 2019, Community Works program is going to put 5.6 billion rand into the pockets of participants and food onto the tables. Minister van Rooyen is very, very right. We want programs like Community Work program not to be the end, but the beginning of new opportunities for participants. Last week, I went to a CWP site in Erasmus, just outside of Tshwane, with the Deputy Minister of Small Business Development. There we handed over certificates to 300 CWP participants who had undergone training in cooperatives. Those participants have formed 23 cooperatives. They are marketing vegetables, they are making bricks, they are producing leather goods, they are producing arts and crafts. So indeed, it's a good example of how government departments are coming together, working together with communities, creating new opportunities that go beyond just those temporary things. Lastly, just to say that in terms of the Back to Basics programs, one of the key pillars of Back to Basics is building strong and resilient institutions, and that includes making sure that we employ the right people in the right positions and that we fill all vacancies. So as a government, we are against casualization, we're against indiscriminate outsourcing. Of course, there is a place for outsourcing, but that must be evidence-led. But first and foremost, we believe that we should strengthen the capacity, the internal capacity of our municipalities through the Back to Basics program.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and just before that, I just want to say thank you very much indeed to the chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board. She's not lost to us, but I'm going to bring the CEO of SALGA to join us on panel just after the break so that he can speak on behalf of the municipalities that we've been talking about. But we will still be able, if you've got a question for Mayor Jane, we can still put it to her from the floor. So stay with us. At Morning Live SABC is our Twitter handle. We'll be back after this.